What's up, guys? It's Eden Gold here with the question, why are we so uncomfortable being naked? Why don't we just accept ourselves the way that we are in all of our forms, naked or in clothes? You see, there's so many people out there, especially women, who they will wear clothes and they'll feel fine, or they'll be naked and they won't feel fine. They'll feel more insecure, they'll feel more vulnerable, and it's actually very normal. It's become very normalized to not be comfortable and accepting of our naked bodies. I can't help but question, why is this? You see, as I've been on this journey of self-love and recovery from my eating disorder that I had for 6 years, I've also come to a point in my life where I've begun to question why things are the way that they are. Why have we all been conditioned to feel a certain way about our body? Why have we all been led to believe that we aren't beautiful unless XYZ, or we aren't good enough with body hair if we let our body hair grow out, or if we have rolls when we sit down, which that's not okay and we are less than because of that. Why have we been led to believe this? So in this video, I want to give you a couple of tips as to how you can begin to normalize your own body naked and begin to appreciate yourself in your naked body. So let's get into it. I first want to start out by saying a lot of the content on my channel is really tailored towards loving yourself and loving yourself in all of its forms. But the fact of the matter is a lot of people aren't in a place where they just love themselves. So let's try and get to a place where we can accept ourselves, or we are speaking neutrally towards ourselves in times when we would normally be negative. What do I mean by this? You see, I always advise people to, if you find yourself being that person who looks at your naked body in the mirror every single day and you're immediately tearing yourself to shreds, it's really important to become self-aware of that and be able to identify that voice for what it is. Oftentimes we're so negative that this happens on autopilot, but if we can take an extra second to notice when this is happening, we are in a much better place. Sorry about that, my camera died. But if we can take an extra step back and notice when this is happening, then we are in a much better place to change the words that we are telling ourselves. So if you are finding it hard to tell yourself something positive as opposed to negative, like if you told yourself, or if you notice your thoughts saying to yourself, you are not skinny enough to be beautiful, you are too big, you have too much body hair, you have too much cellulite, XYZ, and you're finding it incredibly difficult to say, I love myself to pieces, my body is amazing. In this situation, I recommend switching to a neutral body talk. A neutral body talk is good because it's neither good nor bad, but it separates it kind of gets you out of that space of being negative and brings you down to a place of normalcy, because at the end of the day, having a body is normal. Having any kind of body is normal. There are so many different bodies out there, and if we can just normalize any body in its naked form, we can then go on to loving ourselves in the most vulnerable way possible. So rather than saying, I have too much cellulite, my thighs are too big, try saying, I have a body. I have a good body. Yep, that's a body, just like it was yesterday. A simple change of the phrase into a neutral body talk will ultimately, over time, reprogram your brain to stop being so negative towards yourself, and then you can move on to the positive body talk. Did you know it takes 16 positive comments to override 1 negative comment? 16 positive comments to override 1 negative comment. This means that regardless of where you got the information or been led to believe that you are not good enough, it's no wonder that you are holding on to this idea more so than you do if somebody tells you you're beautiful. The negative things we hear stick with us much farther, and it is a lot harder to get out of that headspace. But I want you to know that it is possible. So the next thing you can do is begin to change the beliefs that you have around your body. What is realistic, what isn't? What is logically based and what is emotionally based? A lot of times we mix up our emotional brain and our logical brain. So logically, we may know that we are beautiful, we are worthy of love, but emotionally, in one way or another, we have been led to believe that we aren't. And usually that voice inside of your head, the negative one, I call this your inner bully, is not your voice, but it's the voice, the accumulation of everything that you've been through in your life. Think of a newborn baby. We are born pure. We are born without any knowledge of anything. Everything that we know in our life, every belief that we have developed has been taught to us from our parents, from our grandparents, from our friends, from advertisements. So over time, somewhere along the journey, you have been led to believe that you are not worthy or you are ugly in your naked body. even if logically you don't think that. But it's very hard to change the emotions that we have around this, so we need to start by changing our beliefs. Because ultimately, what we believe, our subconscious mind will go to the ends of the earth to prove why that belief is right. Because ultimately, people don't want to be wrong. So whatever you believe, you will always act in congruence with what you believe. If you believe that you are ugly, if you believe that your fat rolls are not beautiful, it doesn't matter what you do. You will always be finding ways to subconsciously back that belief up. One time I was looking in the mirror and I thought to myself for a brief moment, wow, I look really good. But then immediately my brain started, my inner bully started chiming in and saying, wait, you haven't done enough work. You don't deserve to look good. And I caught on to this thought afterwards, and I realized that I just sabotaged the happiness I could have felt because I didn't believe I deserved to be happy. Are you following me? I thought that I hadn't done enough work. I thought I couldn't possibly look good. My whole life I have been thinking that I'm ugly and I'm not beautiful. So I just didn't think that I looked good, and so the thought that I could look good seemed impossible because my belief was different. So the key here is to change that belief system. And we can do this through positive affirmations, positive self-talk, refer back to the 16 positive comments to override 1 negative, feed yourself with positive messages every single day to eventually crowd out the negative. It's unrealistic to believe that we would change the nature of our most detrimental thoughts that quickly, but if we start today, imagine what could happen in your mind, in your body, if you are positive to yourself and uplifting to yourself for a month, 5 months, a year. You spent a whole year nurturing and practicing body positivity and self-love in all of your forms. I promise you, if you stick with it even through the hard, you will begin to believe it. I promise you that. It does take time, it does take effort, and even on the days that you feel you can't be positive, go back to the neutral body talk. So I want to take a pause here and say that if you have gotten any value out of this video so far, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel. We are going to reach millions of people and help them overcome their traumas, their most hateful thoughts, help them love themselves. And quite honestly, if it was later in the day, this might be a good time for some happy hour wine with the girls. But since it's still pretty early and I still have some work to do, just subscribe to your girl. So if you want to join the family, it would mean the most to me if you did. And with that being said, let's move on to one more tip that I have for you, which is to spend more time naked. I'm not necessarily saying look in the mirror unless you want to and you're confident doing so. If you're not, you're not, and that's totally okay. Everyone's at a different place in their journey of where they're loving their body and accepting their body. But if you think about it, mammals don't wear clothes. No one out in the wild wears clothes, I don't think. So if we can spend more time being in our natural form and just appreciating our body in that form, allowing our skin to breathe, walking on the ground, grounding, and actually feeling the electrical charge that the earth can bring up into our body, then we can learn to connect better with our elements. And when we connect better with our elements, we ultimately feel good. Kind of like when you stand out in nature and you instantly feel better and you can smell the trees. Well, the same thing can happen if you try to connect with your elements in other means, like grounding, like being naked, like sleeping naked. I know it might sound nerve-wracking for some, but if we can nurture these positive body practices, then over time it can have a profound difference on the way that you feel about your naked body. So together, let's normalize being naked. Let's normalize our bodies. Let's work together to feel beautiful in all of our forms, body hair, cellulite, acne, and all. We can do it. I love you guys. I'm so happy that you're a part of this community. I want to invite each and every one of you to join my Facebook community, I Love Myself, a place to go to learn the things that we were never taught. I'm going to be so active in there in 2021, posting memes, posting anything to encourage positive body image. I'll be going live in there, and I'll leave a link for that down below. I also have another Facebook group specifically for those who have overcome abuse in their life, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence of any kind, or are struggling with mental illness. So I'll leave that link down below as well. I have a free guide for anybody who has experienced abuse of any kind in their life, even if it was a mean ex-boyfriend, right? So if you're interested in that guide, I will leave a link for that down below too. And with that being said, thank you for being a part of this community. I have a couple of videos that are coming up that I will link down below for you to watch. I handpicked them specifically for you, and I'm just very blessed to have you guys here. So I appreciate it, and let's be on this journey to loving ourselves in 2021.